Hello America, welcome back. This presentation is called Fake Federal Income Tax, presented to the American people on December 16th, the year 10 after Bitcoin. True or false? An American must pay his or her federal income tax. True. True or false? There is no published law requiring Americans to file a tax return. Surprisingly, this statement is true, which creates an interesting paradox. How could we be required to pay federal income tax when there is no published law to file a tax return? To answer that question, we must ask, is the federal income tax the federal tax on income, or is it the tax on federal income? According to the United States versus Ballard, the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that the general term income is not defined in the Internal Revenue Code. If the term income is not defined, then can it be the subject of the tax? If income cannot be the subject of the tax, what does that leave? By order of eliminations, we must cross out income from the subject of the federal income tax, and we are left with the conclusion that the federal income tax is the tax on federal income. This statement is thoroughly proven in the video called Honest Tax Returns, Part 2, the meaning of the federal income tax, published in December of 2016. So you ask, why do I pay a federal income tax when I never received any federal income? And why do I have to send in a tax return when there's no published law to file? Because if you fail to challenge a false accusation, it is presumed that you consent, and in order to object, you must file a tax return. For example, what do you think would happen if you were falsely accused of a crime and you remained silent? You would naturally go to jail. This is the operation of law, which is the manner in which rights and liabilities devolve upon a person by the mere application to the particular transaction of the established rules of law, without the act or cooperation of the party himself. This is how the law operates, and therefore no statute needs to be published requiring the filing of a tax return. If it were published, it would reveal all too clearly that only those who benefit from federal income are subject to the federal income tax. A person becomes subject to the tax when he is accused of receiving federal income. This accusation is known as the information return, such as a W-2 or 1099, the terms of which confine the subject matter to federal income. It is a right to work for pay. A boss hires a worker who labors in order to be paid, and labor, as it is the original foundation of all other property, is the most sacred and inviolable. The patrimony of the poor man lies in the strength and dexterity of his own hands, and to hinder his labor is a plain violation of this most sacred property. That's what the Supreme Court said in 1884. And after more than 100 years of legalese, the public is convinced that they have an employer who pays them wages and that they are employees, without reading the code, which says that employees are officers, employees, or elected officials of the United States, and that an employer is one for whom an employee performs any service, and that wages are what an employer pays an employee for services. So what would that make wages? Wages is government pay. Government pay is federal income, and if you receive federal income, you are subject to the tax on federal income. What do you think service means? Have you heard of the armed services, the postal service, the National Park Service? How about Medicare and Medicaid services? How about the Federal Protective Service, or our favorite service, the Internal Revenue Service? What do you think service means? Service is government service. And here are a list of government services. What can we learn from all this? Well, to the man who hires workers, I would suggest that thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. And to the worker who labors for pay, I would suggest that thou shalt not allow a false accusation to go unchallenged. And to the IRS, whose role it is to harass the people and to eat out our substance, let's take a page from history from Confucius, who said, "Words mean things, and when words lose their meaning, people lose their liberty." So, if you are falsely accused of receiving federal income, what are your options? A. File a tax return and pay the tax. B. Claim sovereign citizenship and refuse to file. Or C. Obey the law and file an honest tax return. Only one of these is the correct and lawful answer. The other one will allow the IRS to eat of your substance, and the other one will probably get you beat up. So, if you file a tax return, honesty is not a choice because you have to declare under penalties of perjury that it is true, correct, and complete. Therefore, know the truth and file honestly. Watch Honest Tax Returns, published in December 2016. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and comment. You have a duty to know and to obey the law, to share the truth, and to keep the weak from harm and injustice.